All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Monday Motivation, or as I like to call it, Mindset and Motivation. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your week as you listen to these words of wisdom. And I know a lot of you are listening because I love your feedback, and keep your feedback coming because I know that we're making a difference, right? We've been having some good conversations as usual. This is about the 66th or 67th episode, one of those, right? So I've been doing this for a while, but over the past couple of weeks, we've been having some powerful conversation, and none more powerful than coming to the realization and making the powerful shift. If you haven't, say, I keep talking about these repeatedly because hopefully you'll get it. I am the program. I am not following a program. I am the program. And when you make that shift, it's a powerful shift because you will see that your entire world will shift. You will see that your progress will change. You will see that your commitment will deepen. Why? Because now it's all about you. It's not about the plan. It's not the diet. It's not the workouts. It's you. You're not on a diet. You're not following a plan. It's all about you. The program lives or dies by what you do, day in and day out. That is the reality. And the only way to make sure your transformation sticks, guys, is to anchor your life in non-negotiables. I call them non-negotiable habits. These are daily habits that prove your identity no matter what. And your non-negotiables are just that. They're non-negotiable. These are the things you do regardless. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you're with. You must have non-negotiable habits. That is how you anchor your daily routine as rituals of your identity. Right? The things you do must go beyond chores. They must go beyond tasks. They must go beyond routine. They must become rituals of your identity. Identity rituals. These are what non-negotiable habits are. Right? See, most people treat their habits like options. If I feel like it, I'll do it. If I don't, I'll skip it. See, that's the mindset that keeps you stuck. But when you shift to identity-based, non-negotiable habits, everything changes, right? These aren't tasks on a checklist. They're proof of who you're becoming. Because here's the truth. Identity drives action, and your actions create your results. So this is how we move forward. You must identify those non-negotiables, right? You have come to the realization, you have made the shift that I am the program. I'm not following a program. I am the program. You've made the shift that I am all in. I am no longer going to straddle the fence because half measures get you half results. And that's not what you want. You want to create transformation. In order to do that, you've decided to be all in. You're all committed because it's about you. You are the transformation you seek. You are that caterpillar going through the cocoon, going through that process of metamorphosis to become that beautiful butterfly. That is what this is about. That is the life that you're creating. So you must identify those non-negotiables and anchoring to your non-negotiables daily. Right? Your morning foundation, right? You start as your future self. How does your future self start the morning? Well, you start by hydrating. Right? I love to plant a garden, and what you do before the sun comes up first thing in the morning, well, you water it. So that when the sun comes up, it's got water, now it's got sunlight, And the soil gets the nutrition it needs from the water, the sunlight, and all the nutrients you put in it, right? That is how things grow. Well, you want to grow. So you start the day with hydration. A glass of water first thing in the morning. A glass of lemon water first thing in the morning. That's your non-negotiable. You're going to fuel your rise with hydration daily. So every hour of the day, you're hydrating. That doesn't depend on where you are. It doesn't depend on who you're with. It depends on nothing. It's a non-negotiable. You need to have some movement, activation, right? You got to get your body activated. You got to walk, you got to stretch, you got to train. You got to have some daily non-negotiables around that. Your body needs movement. Last week on my group call, we talked about your lymphatic system and why that can be a fat blocker. And it's often a fat blocker because a lot of people don't move. And you see, your heart has a pump that it can pump nutrients throughout your body. Your lymphatic system, needs to also get nutrients throughout your body because that's how a lot of things travel through your lymphatic system. Your immune cells travel through your lymphatic system, right? Fat travels through your lymphatic system. A lot of nutrition travels through your lymphatic system. But it doesn't have a pump. Your muscle contractions serve as that pump. So when you're not moving, guess what? Things aren't moving. Your lymphatic system isn't moving, which means you're not burning the fat that you can be burning. You see the beauty of this? You need some movement activation. You need some muscle activation. You need to have a non-negotiable that every day I am going to do my 5K to 10K steps for those of you who've got 2 good feet. For those of you who have challenges, you set what that looks like for you. I have clients in wheelchair, and obviously that's not possible for them. I have clients who are using walkers, and they can't walk without their walker. So obviously 5K to 10K steps is not possible for them. But you set what that is for you. And that's your non-negotiable. So you're going to move every day. And if you get to the end of the day and you're at 4,000 steps and you haven't made your 5,000, well, guess what? You get out and you walk. You walk around your house, you walk up and down the stairs. You get it in because that is a non-negotiable. Your body needs that movement. You need a mindset anchor daily. What are those I am statements, those visualizations, right? I am someone who fuels my body, someone who moves, primes my mind every morning. I am healthy, fit, and strong. I am healthy without meds. You need those mindset anchors to remind you of who you are daily. You need some nutrition anchors, right? Eating with intention. This is the non-negotiable. So the way you eat, guys, has to become non-negotiable. Eating the right foods in the right amounts at the right time. Eating balanced meals consistently over the course of the day. This is a non-negotiable habit. That doesn't depend on where you are. Doesn't depend on who you're with. Doesn't matter if you're at a restaurant in another country, on vacation, on a cruise. It doesn't matter. These are non-negotiables. They don't change. Right? You anchor them with intention. But here's the thing about your nutrition anchor. I told you it's not about all or nothing. It's 80-20. Right? So if 80% of the time you're eating the right foods, natural whole foods, 80% of the time, right? You get to pivot with intention. Mindful pivot is what I call deviations. So what I encourage my clients to do is you have a plan that you follow 80% of the time. And then when you want to deviate, you plan those mindful deviations, right? So they're mindful deviations. And that is very different from impulsive deviation, right? Very, very different. Because impulsive deviations are being driven by impulses, your lower brain. And when your habits are driven by your lower brain or impulses, you have no control over those. And over time, you have less and less control over those, and they become more and more frequent. Not exactly what you want. You want intentional deviation. Intentional deviation is what you plan to do. I'm going to go on a cruise. Okay, I'm going to plan when I'm going to deviate from my plan. I'm going to plan when I'm going to have a meal and have a drink with that meal. I'm going to plan that as a deviation. I'm having a birthday dinner. Well, I'm going to plan that as a deviation. I gave you guys the process of deviating, planning a deviation meal. You cut back on, you replace the starchy carbs earlier in the day with more veggies if your planned deviation is dinner. Why? Because those restaurant meals are always 2-3 times higher in calories than the same thing you make at home. But it makes everything taste better, right? So you plan those deviation meals as opposed to going out and impulsively just, I feel like this is what I'm going to do. I feel like, eating this. I feel like eating that. That is not going to take you where you want to go, because those habits, impulsive habits, are the seed to cravings. Impulsive habits become very difficult to break because they're coming from your lower brain. And those become cravings. And that is what drives you. So you need to learn to pivot with intention. At that office party, when that office party is going to be, it's okay to have a slice of cake. It's okay to mindfully eat that slice of cake. What is not okay is to mindlessly swallow 3 slices. Right? You see the difference? When I mindfully enjoy that 1 slice of cake, because that is what I planned to do, versus mindlessly gulping down 3 slices. That wasn't the plan. So those deviations need to be mindful deviations, guys. You need to learn to pivot with purpose, because here's the truth. Life will throw you detours, and that just goes without saying. You don't control the storm, but you control the sail. So when you're going to pivot, you want to plan with flexibility. That birthday dinner, decide your meal ahead of time. You're traveling, you decide ahead of time. We call it planning your tomorrow today. Right? When life gets busy, you don't just give up on your non-negotiables. Guess what? That 60-minute workout, we cut it down to 20 or even 10, but we don't skip it. You see the difference there? Well, that 5K walk a day, we cut it down to 2,500 or 2K, 3K, but we don't skip it. We make sure that we keep moving forward. Why? Because it's non-negotiable. So you learn to control the choice, not the circumstance. You don't decide at the day of the office party that, hey, I'm just going to have cake. I'm going to have 3 slices of cake. Right? You want to decide that up front. And if it's a surprise, you get to decide, am I going to enjoy that slice of cake mindfully? That is something you get to decide. It's called planned flexibility. Yes, you can't control the circumstance, but you control the choice. And if you should so decide to enjoy that slice of cake, you just make sure you cut out whatever starchy carbs you're eating and add more veggies to your day. But preferably, you want to plan those things ahead of time. You want to plan to have some mindset anchors, guys, some daily reflection. What went well today? What can I improve? You want to reframe your slips. And what I mean by that is you learn to, when you slip, because you are going to slip, you pause. You reset and you act. You pause the guilt. You reset your focus and you act. You take action now. What is the next thing I can do? That is how you connect and have some mindful mindset anchors. These are all important things, guys. And, I want you to think about your non-negotiables list. I want you to put some thought behind that, because now you're all in. What are your non-negotiables? I just gave you a few ideas, but what are your non-negotiables? How can you act from the point of view of your future self alter ego on a daily basis? When you get into a bind, you ask yourself, well, what would my future self do in this situation? I guarantee you will make very different decisions. What would my future self do in this situation? You will make very different decisions when you start making decisions from the point of view of the person you're becoming versus making decisions from the person you are right now. Because you're two completely different people, okay? So the bottom line is your non-negotiables aren't about perfection. They're about proof. Every time you hit them, you reinforce your new identity, and that is what you want. That identity becomes stronger and stronger, and when your identity becomes unshakable, guys, your results become inevitable. When your identity becomes unshakable, your results become inevitable. You will get there. But first, you must create that identity. You must reinforce that identity day after day. That is the only way. You reinforce your identity, who you are, that person you're becoming. You reinforce that identity with non-negotiable habits. You see the beauty of this? I gave you a path. It starts with identity. It starts with owning that I am the program. I'm not following a program. Owning that I am all in. I am no longer straddling the fence, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I am all in. Now it's time to create that unshakable identity. It is time to stop becoming that future self and start being that future self. The way you do that is you practice those non-negotiables every single day. And every time you're successful in practicing those non-negotiables daily, you are creating unshakable identity. And that is what will make your results inevitable. It is inevitable. It is already done. It is inevitable. Your results are inevitable when your identity becomes unshakable, when your habits daily become non-negotiable. I want you to tell yourself, I don't follow a program, I am the program. My non-negotiables prove it daily. I don't follow a program, I am the program. And my non-negotiables is what proves it daily. So here's the challenge for the week, guys. I want you to write your own non-negotiables list. What are your morning rituals? What are your nutrition anchors? What movement is non-negotiable? How do you reset at night? All right, what do you do to reset? How do you think about your day and decide? Well, one of the things you ask yourself, was I better today than I was yesterday? These are the things that will help you to move forward. These are the things that drive your progress. When you anchor the things you're doing in identity through your non-negotiable habits daily, when you learn to pivot with purpose, practice plan flexibility. Remember, it's not all or nothing. It's about the 80-20. It's about following that plan, which is anchored in non-negotiables daily, and mindfully pivoting. But you want to plan that pivot. That is the secret to your success. That is the secret to you moving forward in a powerful way. I guarantee it. I hope this has been helpful.